Swarupanusandhanam. Let's read verse 1, first shloka. Tapo yajñadanadibhih shuddha buddhihi virakto nrpadeh pade tuchha buddhya parityajya sarvam yadapnoti tattvam param brahma nityam tadevahamasmi. Tapo yajñadanadibhihi. 4 sadhanas. Tapas, yajna, dana and adhyayana. These are 4 sadhanas that lead to Chitta Shuddhi. After performing adequate tapas, yajna, dana, etc., the individual gets a Chitta Shuddhi, and then he is called Shuddha Buddhi. The person is called Shuddha Buddhi. Shuddha Buddhi yasya saha Shuddha Buddhi. An individual whose buddhi, mind, is Shuddha, pure, is called Shuddha Buddhi. It is a Bahuvrihi Samasa. Shuddha Buddhihi yasya saha Shuddha Buddhihi. By means of tapas, yajna, dana and adhyayana, the individual becomes Shuddha Buddhihi. The mind is pure. To understand purity of mind, we should know what is the impurity. The mind cannot have dust. The body can have dust. The room accumulates dust, but the mind doesn't accumulate dust. The mind doesn't accumulate cobwebs. Then what is the impurity? There are 2 types of impurities, 2 types of ashuddhis discussed in the tradition. Number 1, mala. Mala. Mala can be explained in many ways. If you ask me what is mala, I can give answer in many ways. If you want a very simple answer, very short answer, I can answer in one word. If you want a little longer answer, I can answer with the 2 words. If you want an even longer answer, I can answer in 6 words. First, let me give the shortest answer. Calm, desire. Desire is an impurity. And all other undesirable impulses in the mind, all other undesirable emotions in the mind are born of desire. Therefore, the simplest answer is kama. Then there is a little longer answer. 2 words. I can say raga and dvesha. Raga and dvesha. This is another way of answering. Raga means a compulsive like. Compulsive likes are called raga. And dvesha, compulsive dislikes are called dvesha. All of us have likes and dislikes. I like this, I like that. Most often, it is a mere preference. What color do you like? For wearing dress. What color of dress do you like? Don't ask me. I don't have a choice. Only one color. But you have choice. And when you have choice, you can express your preference. I want red. I want blue. I don't like black. You can express your preference. But suppose you don't get the chosen color, it's okay for you. It is called preference. I prefer red. That means even if I don't get red, even if I get some other color, I am not upset. That is called preference. It is a simple liking. But the same liking can become compulsive when if I don't get red, I am upset. If I don't get red, I am angry. I am sad. I start shouting. Then it is a compulsive like. Compulsive liking. Similarly, there are compulsive dislikes. I cannot withstand the presence of another person. I have a compulsive dislike to another person. If he is there on the screen, I won't attend the session. Compulsive likes and compulsive dislikes. Raga and Dvesha. All other forms of undesirable impulses can be included in these two. It is another way of explaining mala. Now there is another third way of expressing mala. Arishadvarga. 6 types of enemies. There are 6 enemies. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. Kama, desire. Krodha, anger, hatred. Lobha, greed. Moha, delusion. Mada, arrogance. Matsarya, envy. Six. So you can express as 1 or 2 or 6. These are just a few ways of expressing. There can be many other ways of explaining or enumerating mala. In short, mala means all undesirable emotions in the mind. All undesirable impulses in the mind are mala. Then the second form of impurity, vikshepa. It is the extrovertedness of the mind. Bahirmukhata, extrovertedness of mind. What is extrovertedness? The mind seeks external objects. And because of that, it is not able to focus on the subtle themes. Vedanta is subtle. When you try to focus on Vedanta, the mind goes outwards. It has an outgoing tendency. It seeks something gross. It seeks to think of something gross. Let me think of some gross object. And sometimes it seeks action. Let me engage in some action, some conversation. And sometimes it seeks entertainment. It is reluctant to remain focused on a subtle spiritual theme. It is vikshepa. The extrovertedness, restlessness of mind. Most often we may not be aware of vikshepa. We become aware of it when we try to focus on Vedanta. Especially when we try to focus on Vedanta for a long time. Whole day. You try to focus on Vedanta in the form of studying the Shastra or in the form of meditation. Then you see the extrovertedness. The mind seeks something else. And our hand falls on the mobile phone. At least let me check WhatsApp. Let me check internet. It is vikshepa. So mala and vikshepa. These are two forms of impurities, two forms of ashuddhi. Vikshepa nivritti and mala nivritti. Mala nivritti means freedom from mala, and vikshepa nivritti, freedom from vikshepa. Chitta Shuddhi involves mala nivritti and vikshepa nivritti. When there is Chitta Shuddhi, certain desirable qualities manifest in the mind. The qualities that are useful, the qualities that are necessary to the pursuit of Vedanta, they manifest in the mind when it is pure. The qualities are called Sadhana Chatushtaya. 4 types of sadhanas. A collection of 4 sadhanas. Sadhana means a quality which is desirable in the pursuit of Vedanta. A quality which is necessary for the pursuit of Vedanta is called sadhana. In the tradition, we enumerate 4 sadhanas. They are known as Sadhana Chatushtaya. Number 1, Viveka. Nityanitya Vastu Vivekaha. A clear understanding of the difference between permanent and impermanent. The person understands that the material objects are impermanent. Therefore, they cannot promise permanent happiness. If he has to get permanent happiness, he has to seek the permanent. Only the permanent can promise permanent happiness. An impermanent cannot promise permanent happiness. When the object itself is impermanent, how can it promise permanent happiness? What is permanent? Somewhere he has come across something called Brahman. He has understood that there is something called Brahman. I am talking about a beginner. He doesn't know what exactly Brahman is, but he has understood that there is something called Brahman. He has a superficial knowledge. There is something called Brahman, and that is permanent. And if I have to get permanent happiness, I have to find it in Brahman. He may not even use the word Brahman. He may use some other word. The spiritual truth. The God. The Ishvara. The Self. In short, if I have to find permanent happiness, I should not seek it in the world. Instead, I should seek it in the spiritual pursuit. This understanding, this clarity is called Viveka. A clarity of what one has to pursue, what one has to seek, and where it should be sought. What I should seek? I should seek permanent happiness. And where should I seek it? I should not seek it in the world, because the world itself is impermanent. Therefore, I should seek it in something other than the world, which is the spiritual truth. This understanding is Viveka. The second one is Vairagya. When I have understood that the material objects cannot give me permanent happiness, I lose interest in them. They no longer attract me. They lose attraction. Raga means attraction towards the material objects, interest in the material objects. Vairagya is the opposite of raga, absence of attraction. The material objects fail to pull me. Because I know they cannot promise permanent happiness. The third one, third sadhana, Shamadhi Shatka Sampattihi. Shama Adi. Shama is different from Kshama. Kshama is different. We are not talking about Kshama here. Shama. 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 Shama means mastery over mind. Having a say over one's mind. We have to ask ourselves whether we listen to our mind or our mind listens to us. If you don't know how to ride a horse properly, The horse will ride you. Horse will take you on a ride. And we don't know where you end up. Sometimes, or most often, the mind takes us on a ride. Therefore, a spiritual seeker should work on his mind, discipline his mind. The mind should listen to us. When we say focus, stay here, the mind should stay here. It is a shama. Manonigraha. Second one is a dhamma. Indriya nigraha. According to Vedanta, there are 10 indriyas. To be more precise, 10 bahyendriyas. The 5 jnanendriyas, 5 senses of knowledge, and 5 senses of action. Mastery over all these 10 senses is dhamma. Indriya nigraha. The indriya should not take us on a ride, having a say over our indriyas. Most importantly, it is vagindriya, the sense of speech. Not easy to have a mastery over it. There is an interesting shloka. Evam prarthayate dantaha he jihve bahumavada tvaya krita paradhena sthanabhramsho bhaven mama. It is a dialogue between tongue and teeth. Tongue and tooth. The tooth tells the tongue. Tooth requests the tongue. He jihve, O tongue, please be careful for my sake. Because if you make a mistake, I will lose my position. So, Vagindriya Nigraha, Vak Sanyama, talking meaningfully, talking when it is necessary, and keeping quiet. Silence at proper time and speaking at proper time. It needs to be learned. It is not easy. We have to work on our speech. When I should speak, when I should not speak, how I should speak. If you look into the Shastra, Bhagavad Gita or Mahabharata or Ramayana, a lot has been told about the right form of speech, how to speak properly. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat. We have seen it in Bhagavad Gita. So, the third one among Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, third one is Uparatihi. A relative calmness of mind. The mind becomes peaceful. If there is Chitta Shuddhi, the mind remains peaceful, free from restlessness, free from turbulences. It enjoys a relative calmness. Why I say relative? Because absolute calmness is not possible without a jnana. Until you get a jnana, there will be some kind of turbulence, some kind of restlessness. That is why relative calmness. Titiksha, number 4. Titiksha, endurance, forbearance, the ability to put up with the difficulties. And the difficulties may be sometimes physical, sometimes mental also. Somebody may create a problem in any setup, in family or in institutions. There are problems. If you live with others, there are problems. With the family members also. And if you say, I will go to Himalaya, there are other problems. Cold, etc. If you say, I'll go to forest, there are tigers, animals. Somewhere you have to live. And you should live in such a way that you are spiritually progressing. But then there are problems. If we try to solve all the problems, all our time will go in solving the problems only. Then we will not find time for sadhana. Sadhana may not happen. Therefore, one should learn to put up with certain amount of problems. It is true in any pursuit. You want to study as a student, there will be problems. The student has to put up with the problems, whether he is in college or school. It is true with your business. A businessman has to handle so many issues. He has to withstand so many problems. Otherwise, he cannot achieve the goal. And it is true, very much true with the spiritual pursuit also. If you say, I will start pursuing moksha when I don't have any problem at all, it is not going to happen. It is like saying, I will take bath in water, I will take dip in sea when there are no waves. The sea should be free from waves. It should be calm, then I will swim on the sea. It's never going to happen. Therefore, titiksha, shraddha. Fifth one is shraddha. Guru Vedanta Vakyeshu Vishwasaha. Shraddha is a trust in the words of Guru and in the words of Vedanta. Shraddha is not a blind belief. You don't say, I will swallow everything without salt. It is not Shraddha. You don't keep aside your reasoning. Instead, you are open to receiving a new vision from the Guru. Shraddha is the openness, the keenness, to understand something which I don't know. Let me give an example. You are walking on the street and there is a drunkard, intoxicated, with a bottle in hand. and you know he is drunk, and then he calls you and says, "You are Brahman, you are Brahman," will you take him seriously? You will not take him seriously, because you know that his words cannot be taken seriously. His words are not valid source of knowledge. You just ignore him. The words of a drunkard. But when you listen to the Swami is telling the same thing. You are Brahman. You listen with all attention. Why? Because you know that the words of this Swami are valid source of knowledge. You trust the words of Swami because the Swami is not drunk. What the Swami speaks is from the Shastra. The Shastra, which is time tested, a time tested source of knowledge. Through the history, through many millennia, so many people have made use of the same wisdom, and they have benefited from this wisdom. That is why you trust the words of the Shastra. And when there is Shraddha, when there is trust, you are open. You pay attention. You try to understand. And sometimes the words of the Guru or the words of the Shastra may not make sense. It may not make sense sometimes. Then what do? There are two possibilities. Number one, you just reject the words of the Guru. This Guru is saying something which doesn't make any sense. That means he is speaking nonsense. You reject it. This is one possibility. The Guru is speaking nonsense. The Shastra is speaking nonsense. This is lack of Shraddha. Another possibility, you say, the Guru may not be wrong because the Guru is speaking from his understanding of the Shastra. The Shastra cannot be wrong because Shastra is a valid source. It is a pramana. If it doesn't make sense to me, it means I have not understood it properly. This is Shraddha. I may not have understood it properly. Therefore, let me try to understand properly. Let me make more effort and try to understand it properly. This attitude is Shraddha. I hope you understand what Shraddha means. And Samadhanam. If there is Shraddha, there will be Samadhanam. Focus. Attention. You focus on the words of the Shastra. The ability to focus on the teaching of Vedanta is Samadhana. So these are Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha and Samadhanam. So these six together form the third one. Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. And the fourth one is Mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam means mokshecha, desire for moksha. I want moksha. Desire for moksha. Thirst for moksha is called mumukshutva. So, these are Sadhana Chatushtaya. Among the four, the author mentions only one. Virakto nripadesh pade tuchha buddhya. He mentions only one among the four. Vairagya. A person with Vairagya is called Viraktaha. Viraktaha. He has Vairagya. The material objects, the material pursuit does not pull him. And the author gives a sample, an example. A particular desirable thing in the material pursuit. Nripadesh pade, a good position, a powerful position in the world. The position of a king. Nripa Adi, king, etc. It may be king. Now there are no kings. Chief Minister, Nripa Adi. What do you understand from Adi? Chief Minister, Prime Minister, or any other cabinet minister. All these are attractive, generally attractive. If someone comes and tells you, I will make you a prime minister tomorrow, what will be your reaction? This virakta, his reaction, he is not attracted. Suppose the virakta, someone tells the virakta, the party approaches, I will give you ticket and you will become the leader of the party and our party is going to win and you are going to be the prime minister. What will the virakta say? First of all, he will understand that the position of prime minister cannot give permanent happiness, because the position of prime minister is maximum 5 years. It cannot give permanent happiness. Also, it can be an obstacle in my pursuit of moksha. This virakta, his goal is moksha. He is a mumukshu. If I choose to become a prime minister, for 5 years, I will have to postpone my moksha. I will have to postpone my spiritual pursuit. It can be an obstacle in my spiritual pursuit. It can be detrimental to my spiritual pursuit. And that is why most often he will reject any such offering. He is virakta. He does not get pulled by any material promises. Nripadehe pade viraktaha. How viraktaha? Tuchcha buddhya viraktaha. Because tuchcha buddhya, he sees them as hollow, empty. For an ordinary person, it may look attractive because he doesn't know the truth of it. But for a virakta, it is hollow. It cannot give permanent happiness. And it cannot be helpful in my pursuit of moksha. Then it is hollow. Tuchcha. Tuchcha means hollow. Tuchcha buddhya. with the understanding of his hollowness. He is viraktaha. He is not attracted to them. So vairagya is mentioned. This is an upalakshana for all four sadhana chatushtaya. Upalakshana means it represents all four. One represents all four. So, sadhana chatushtaya. When you have sadhana chatushtaya, you are an adhikari. You are a qualified student of Vedanta. And then the Vedanta works. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om. Yeah. Namaste. Yeah.